End of 82a, Pei Beis Amud Aleph, about to begin the entire story with Pinchas, and background is Parshas Balak, that Bilam was hired to curse the Jews, and he tried numerous times, did not succeed. Finally, he figured out what Hashem really hates, and that is incestual relations, and therefore that was the advice he gave, and almost succeeded until Pinchas ended up saving the Jewish nation. So let's see. We are at the second wide line. Vayomer Moshe. Vayomer Moshe Shiftei Yisrael. So, Halach Shifto Shel Shimon, the Shevet, the tribe of Shimon, Eitzel Zimri, so meaning the head of the tribe of Shimon, went to Zimri ben Salu. Zimri was the princess. So she was the daughter of a Moabite king. Amrulo, Hein Danen, Dine Nefashos, Va'ata Yoshe V'Shosek. So the tribe of Shimon went to their leader, and they said, "Listen, there's Jews dying because of incestual relations, and you're sitting there quietly." It's interesting that they went to Shimon, not Reuven. Like interesting, Shimon, yeah. So Ma'asa, what did he do? Amad v'kivetz chavdal elef miYisrael. He went with 24,000 people to V'halach Eitzel Cosby, and went to Cosby. Amar La, he told her, Kazi was the princess, was the daughter of the Moabite king. Amar La, Hishmieli, listen to me. Amar Lo, she said to him, Bas Melechani, I'm a daughter of a king. V'chein Sivali Avi, and I listen to my father. And my father said, Lo Tishmai, I shouldn't listen to anybody from the Jewish people unless Ela Legadol Shebahem, unless he's the oldest, he's the greatest of the Jewish people. So Amar La, so he told her back, Afhu Nasi Shevethu. Said, yeah, he's also, meaning the head of the tribe of Shimon, he's also a priestly figure. Not only that, but he's going to be greater than Moshe. Why? Because he comes from Shimon. Shimon is Sheni Lebetan, the second born. V'hu Shlishi. Moshe comes from Levi. Levi is the third born. So you see, I'm greater than the greatest one. So what happened now? So now she listened. Tafsa bib Larisa. He grabbed her by the Larisa, by what? By the hair? By the
Yeah, so, by the braided hair.
By the braided hair, right? The Hevia, thank you. By Hevia Eitzel Moshe. And he brought her to Moshe. And now what happened was like this. Amar Lo, he told Moshe, Amar Lo ben Amram. So he calls Moshe the son of Amram. It's not so nice. So Zu Asura Umuteris. This lady, is she prohibited to me, or is she muteris to me, or is she permitted to me? And if you'll tell me Vim Tomer Asura, you'll tell me she's Asura to me. So then what's gonna happen? Bas Yisro Mihitirlach. Who allowed you, Moshe, to marry the daughter of Yisro? So yeah. So now, Nis Alma Mimenu Halacha. There's a few times in the Torah Moshe forgot the halacha. Now, Rashi explains, Moshe married Yisro's daughter before we got the Torah. And before that, they didn't have the full status of Jews. So what was the status then? So he couldn't answer back in fast in time. So now, go kulam bebechia. Everyone cried. Everyone was crying. So now, what happens? It sounds like in the interim, people were dying, and this head of the tribe of Shimon, Zimri, was having relations with Cosby, and Pinchas saw this. Vayar Pinchas ben Elazar Ma'ra. What did he see? So a number of opinions. Amar Rav Ra'a Ma'isa v'Niskar Halacha. He saw this act that they had, and he remembered the halacha. Amar Lo. He said, Achi Abba, so he's talking to Moshe. Achi Abi Abba, you, the father of my grandfather, right? Aaron was Pinchas' grandfather. So, Lo Kach Limadetani, Bereitcha Mehar Sinai. Did you not teach us when you came down from Har Sinai, Haboel Aramis, one who has relations with an Aramite woman? Someone's involved in idol worship. Haboel Aramis, Kinayin Pokenbo. The zealots can go and take action. So it's interesting because really by Kinayin Pokenbo, this halacha of zealotry, you're not supposed to ask. That was a few lines earlier. You're not supposed to ask, well, what's the halacha? Zealously is a fool, you just do it on. So Moshe tells him, says, Karaina de Igrasa, Ihu Lahave Pravanka. The one who read the letter, you should be the messenger. Meaning, you understood that this is what you have to do, so you go do it. I can't tell you what to do. This is what you have to do. So that's one. Shmuel Amar Re'esh Ein Chachma Bein Tvuna Vein Eitz Neged Hashem. He saw the verse says that Kol Makom Sheish Chil Hashem Ein Chol Kavod Rav. Whenever there's Chil Hashem, usually you're not allowed to answer a halacha question in front of your rabbi. You have to give him the proper honor. However, when it's in the place of a Chil Hashem, of desecrating God's name, then you're allowed to even answer a halacha question and take action even in the presence of your Rebbe. So that's what Pinchas did. He said, there's a Chil Hashem happening. I don't have time to ask Moshe Rabbeinu. I'm going to wait for the answer. I'm going to go. So, Rabbi Yitzchak, Rabbi Lazar, Malach, he saw an angel come, the Hishchis Ba'am, and starting destroying the nation. Okay, so what did he do? Vayakam mitocha eda, vayikach romach biyado. So he got up from the congregation, sounds like from the Bezdin, from the Sanhedrin, and vayikach romach, and then he took a spear in his hand. So one of the great rabbis in Israel about 100 years ago, he said, some people walk around with spears looking who to stab. Because some people, when the time comes, then they take a spear, right? So Pinchas, when the time arose, he took a spear. Two different kinds of zealotry. One is much more a godly kind of zealot than the other. So mikan she'einich nasin b'kli zayin lebeis hamedrash. Interesting that from here we learn that you shouldn't walk in to a shul or study hall with a weapon. Okay, so now what did Pinchas do? So it sounds like this is like, I think nowadays they'll probably call it like a bayonet, right? You have a long stick at the end, is a very sharp, the dagger at the end. So this is also a very long stick, or so it's a stick, and at the end was the sharp part. So shalaf shinana, he took off the sharp part. V'hinicho b'unkel, he put it in in his garment. Yeah, thank you. And then he took the stick and used it as a walking stick, because he didn't want people to see that he has this weapon on him. Turning the page, he went and he started using it as a walking stick. Now, the cave in Shehigia Eitzel Shifta Shel Shimon, he got to the tribe of Shimon. Amar Heichel Matina Shifta Shel Levi. So also he wanted to get in. So how do you get in to every good leader has the security. You have to get past security, to say the right password, get the right code. So Pinchas to get in said, Amar Heichel Matina Shifta Shel Levi Galo Misha Shimon. He said, where do we see that Levi is any greater than Shimon? Meaning, if you, Shimon, who's older than us, and he's giving them a compliment, are greater than us, and yet you're being involved in this act of having relations with Moabite women, for sure I could do the same thing. Because I'm only from Levi, I'm under you in terms of superiority. So he said, oh, great. Amru, hinichulo. So hinichulo, they let him go in. So Afu Lasso Strachav, they let him go in. They thought he was also going to take care of his business and have relations. So Nichnas, so he entered. Nichnas, Hitiru. Yeah, so Nichnas Hidir. So they allowed him to Hitiru Prushin Esadavar. So he said, for sure, you can come in and do just like us. No problem. Fine. So he walked in. So now he got in. He convinced them that he's going to go do the same act that they're involved in. Amar Rav Yochanan, Shisha Nisim Naslo Pinchas. That at this time there were 6 miracles happened to Pinchas in his amazing act of zealotry. All of those he could not have predicted beforehand. And if any one of those 6 would have happened, so it would have, who knows, it could have ended up very badly for him. Okay, what are the 6? Echad shahayalo lezimri lifrosh velo piresh. Zimri's in the middle of having relations with Cosby. Pinchas walked in. He should have stopped. He should have literally, removed himself from her. Yeah, withdrawn. That's a good word. Withdrawn. Yeah. But he did not withdraw. The echad shahayalo ledaber velo daber. I mean, he should have screamed something to help him. Here, a guy walks down, middle of having relations. He has a dagger on him. He should have yelled something. He didn't say anything. The echad, when Pinchas killed them, he got them perfect aim. Shekiven b'sachruso shel ish u'b'nekabuso shel isha. He hit them right where the male and the female organ meet, and we got both of them in one shot. And another miracle, he held them both up on a dagger, and now he's walking out of the room, but the room's not so tall. So he lifted up the part of the door, it's called, not the lintel, but the
Lentil.
lintel, right? The lintel, yeah. The echad sheba malach v'hishchis ba'am. And another one was that the angel came and I guess was starting to destroy what? The tribe of Shimon. Oh, so because the angel was destroying the people, they were all distracted from this incredible scene. Right? Because I was about to ask, where's everyone else? So, okay. So now what happened was, Pinchas goes and takes these two people that have been killed that are on his dagger, and he throws them down in front of Lifnei HaMakom. I don't know if Lifnei HaMakom means he went to a specific place or just right here he threw them down. Amar Lafana Ribona Shalom, he said, Hashem, Al Elu Yiplu Chavdu Elef Misrael. Because of these two people, there's 24,000 Jews that are dying. They are 24,000 people that are dying. First wide line, 82b. So in the middle of Pinchas doing heroic things. First, yeah, right there, exactly. V'hainu, fourth word. V'hainu diksiv, v'yamod Pinchas vayipalel. So Pinchas got up vayipalel. Now we know the word for davening is tefillah is to vayispalel. It's in the reflexive. It says the root is really judgment. So really, you're really judging yourself. You're introspecting on yourself. That's what tefillah is. But here it's vayipalel. Amar Belazar vayispalel lo namar. It doesn't say in the reflexive, which is referring to davening. Ella vayipalel. It says vayipalel. What does that mean? Melamed kivyachol she'asa plilos in kono. He was making judgments, judgments with his creator, with Hashem. So the angel saw this. They're like, get this guy out of here. Bikshu malach eshar zadavcho. Push him away. So Hashem said, no. Amrlan hi nichulo. Leave him where he is. He's a kinoi ben kanoi. He's a zealot, the son of a zealot. Meishiv chema ben meishiv chema. So he's one who returns from, he subdues the fury. He's the son of someone else who also, subdued Hashem's fury, meaning he lowered the fury. He calmed, so to speak, Hashem's anger in the Jewish people. Now, what does it mean he's the son of a kanai? He's the son of a zealot. Levi went and for Dinah, right? And also, how is he the son of someone who returns, who helps Hashem's anger, reside? That's Aaron. When it came to the act of Korach, Aaron brought the Ketores. He brought the Ketores and a special incense, and that stopped that tragedy from continuing. So, by the way, it's fascinating that Shimon and Levi were the two. I think there's a Rebecca Kamenetsky talks about this. Shimon and Levi were the two that went and saved Dinah, and their destinies were very different. They got a similar blessing from Yaakov, and Shimon ends up doing this act, and Levi, who didn't worship the Chet Egel, but Pinchas ends up saving the day. The descendants of Levi and the descendants of Shimon came from a similar root, but they had very different. Yeah, interesting. So, fine. So Hashem says, leave him. He comes from Levi. He comes from Aaron HaKohen. Leave him where he is. Now, his chilu, you have to also know, what in the world was Shimon's, Cosby's rationale for this? Just in general, he just had a taiva. He had a lust. You have to know, these are great people. The head of the Jewish people. What exactly was behind their rationale? Yeah. So his chilu shvatim. So the shvatim, the nation, the tribes, began to a little bit disgrace Pinchas. Shvatim mevazino. So they said, "Re'isim ben Puti zeh shepitem abi imo agam lavodos kochavim." So look at this Ben Puti, the son of a Puti. Puti means his father's the father of his mother fattened up Yisro. Fat. We did in Bava Basra. Yeah, very good. It's either referring to Pinchas, very good, or it's referring to Yosef. Yeah, who's able to fight with his Yetzer Hara. Yeah, very good. Rashi even quotes that. So Shapitim Avi Imo Agam Lavaros Kachavim. The Harag Nasi Shaven me so he went. I mean, people from the outside, they might have not known exactly what happened. I don't know, but so look, he killed a Nasi, he killed a tribe, a head of the tribe of Israel, a prince of Israel. So because people were saying this, Baha Kasuv Vayichsu, and they were so the Torah came and was miyaches. It told us Pinchas's lineage, and it said specifically Pinchas ben Elazar ben Aaron a Cohen. Don't just think Pinchas comes from Yisro. The Torah says it specifically comes from Aaron a Cohen. So okay, so Amar le'Kadosh Baruch Hu Moshe. Hashem now told Moshe, Hikdim lo shalom. Go be the first one to give peace to greet Pinchas with peace. Shenemar lechein Omer. That's why it says in the very beginning of Parshas Pinchas, Hineni nosen lo as brisi shalom. I'm giving Pinchas the treaty of peace. V'reuya kapara zu, and this kapara, this atonement, is fitting. Shitehei mechaperes v'oleches laolam, is fitting to be mechaper, to atone forever. Rashi says that the verse says bris kahunas olam. This treaty of peace. It's an amazing thing. Meaning there's an act of zealotry which is very, very important for a Jew to have, right? I remember a Rebbe of mine saying, for an American, himself included, very hard. But in Israel, he says the chazan goes a little too fast. Everyone tells him, "What are you doing?" But there's an act of zealotry. It's a trait in Mesilas Yesharim. It's a trait a person has. You're fired up for Hashem in a very positive way. So okay. So Amar Rav Nachman, Amar Rav, Ma'idesiv. So now a little more graphic details about exactly how bad this act of Cosby and Zimri was. So the verse, a cryptic verse in Mishlei, Zarzir Masnayim Otayish Umelech Alkum Imo. So yeah, so what does this verse mean? So Arba Meos ve'esrim, the Arba Be'ilos, so 424 Be'ilos, relations, Bal Osa Rasha Osa Yom. That Rasha, referring to Cosby, had that day, 424. Vehimtin lo Pinchas, and Pinchas waited for him. How Pinchas knew this. So I knew he was going to get some excitement on this. Yeah. So until he ran out of steam. Now Pinchas didn't know who in Yudea Shemelech Elokim Imo. Hashem is with you. You don't have to wait until he loses steam. You got this. Go even when he's full of steam. Doesn't matter. Fine. So, but it could be there's a general principle not to rely on miracles. Right, so it couldn't just But Masnisa Tana, so in the academy they taught another version, Shishim, so it was actually 60 times. Okay, not so bad, yeah. Ad Shenase, so still learning that verse. Kebetza Hamizurezis, like a addled. Yeah, what does addled mean? I saw the same thing. Wrinkled, yes. Okay. Ad Shenase until it became like a wrinkled egg. Okay. The he haisa, and somehow I don't know, a lady gets much wider through all this intercourse. I don't know exactly what that means. The Hiaisa Aruga Malaya, she became like a Aruga Malaya is like a very thick, very thick, well, like a thick cake, like how should I say Aruga? The seat was like it's full of water, very large. So her seat was for Amar of Kahana. No, so that was she became like a Aruga land. She was full of water, I guess from the different semen. Oh, a garden. Yeah, that's right. Garden bed. Thank you. Amr of Kahana Umoshava Beiseh, and her seat was now as wide as a seah's worth, meaning very large. Okay. Tani Rav Yosef, Kever Shala Amma. Her grave was an Amma. Kever Shala meaning not her grave. Sorry, her womb. Her womb became as wide as it was an Amma wide. Amr of Sheshes. Okay, so now we're gonna get into her name. So we call her Cosby. Says Rav Sheshes, no. Lo Cosby Shma, Ella Shvilani Basur Shma. Her name is Shvilani or Shulani Basur, not Cosby. So Lama Nikra Shma Cosby. Why do we call her Cosby? Shekozba be'aviha. So she didn't listen to her father. Because her father said to only listen to the greatest one out of the Jewish people. Cosby was not the greatest one. He was the head of Shimon, but he wasn't the greatest one. Davar Acher, another interpretation. Cosby she'amar la'avia Kosbi amzeh. So, Kosbi amzeh, she said that they're going to be killed on behalf of me. I'm going to go incite the Jewish people to do illicit relations, and they're going to be killed because of me. So that's what Kosbi is. Kosbi amzeh. The Haina de Amri Inchi, and that's what people say about, when referring to ladies that have illicit relations. What do they say? Bain Kani Luravani, between the willow and the reed, Shivalani. So that's where you'll find this lady Shivalani, meaning that's her name.
Interesting, though, right? If Midyan, Pinchas's mother was, she came from Midyan too, right? He killed her.
Yeah, this is from Moab. Yeah.
Oh, it's Moab. Is it Moab?
I believe it's Moab. I believe they're from Moab. Yeah. So yeah. So meaning you'll find her between the willow and the reed. That's where people have incestual relations. That's where you'll find her. So nowadays we'll say probably like who knows, I don't know, Vegas or in the club. I don't know. That's the nowadays version. So fine. Or they say my body bahade kalfi dekani. Who's hanging out? What are they doing by these reeds? Shulani. Mai boy gafsa leima. So for sure this Shulani is there because she wants to have illicit relations. Gafsa leima, she's meaning she gives her mother a bad name because the daughter has become a prostitute, and therefore now people know her mother as the mother of someone who is a prostitute. Okay. Continuing, Amar Rabbi Yochanan Chamisha Shemas Yesh Lo Zimri. So now that was all Cosby's names. What about Zimri's names? Chamisha Shemas Yesh Lo Zimri 1, Ben Salu 2, Vishol 3, Ben Knanis 4, Shalumiel Ben Tsuri Shaddai 5. So Zimri, why is he called Zimri? Al Shenase Kebetza Hamuzeres, like because he became like an adult egg. Ben Salu Al Shehisli Avonos Shel Mishpachto. He's called Ben Salu because he, how do I translate Salu? Caused people. He caused people to, right? Shaul Al Shehishil Atzma Darer. He, so to speak, borrowed himself for an Aveira. He went and did this Aveira. Ben Aknanis Al She'osa Ma'aseh Kenan, the son of a Canaan, because he did an act of Canaan, meaning this act is something that the Canaanites were very into. Uma Shmo Shlumiel ben Tsuri Shaddai Shmo. His real name is Shlumiel ben Tsuri Shaddai Shmo. Yeah. Interesting. I'm just thinking now, the name Shlumiel seems like a combination of Shalom and Kel, peace and God. I mean, someone who causes God to have peace. It's interesting that it sounds like he did the exact opposite of his name. Pinchas caused peace by killing him. Yeah. So that's interesting. I mean, it sounds like he had a name, supposed to live up to his name, and he ended up not. And he got the opposite names. Interesting. Who?
Laban.
Right. Right. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, yeah, I never thought about that. Huh. Okay. Yeah, good. Okay, fine. So now back to the Mishnah of the other Aveiras one does that you can also be a zealot for. So one of them was stealing the Kli Shares, a sanctified vessel. One was cursing with sorcery, and then it talked about a Kohen Sheshimesh B'Tumah. So a Kohen who serves while he is impure, so his young Kohanim can take him out and basically put holes in his head, put holes in his brain. So, question is, Bomni Rav Acha Bar Huna Rav Sheshas. He asked Rav Sheshas. Rav Acha asked Rav Sheshas, Kohen Sheshimesh V'Tumah. What's the halacha? A Kohen that serves while he is impure, Chayev Misa B'dei Shemayim or Ein Chayev Misa B'dei Shemayim? Is he liable by death in the hands of heaven, or not? Good catch. So yeah, is he liable to death in the hands of heaven or not? So that's where Rav Acha asked Rav Sheshas. So says Rav Sheshas back to Rav Acha, Amrulei Tinisua. What do you mean? You can learn. Kohen Shemish B'Tumah Ein Achav Kohanim Mevinos Ol Bezin El Pircha Kohanim Motinos Ol Chutzla Zaru Potinas Mocho Big Gizrin. They take him out and they go and they stab him in the head. So if he's going to be killed by the hands of heaven, So then why are you killing him? The shafke, just leave him. Hashem will take care of him. Like, don't worry about it, right? So it sounds like from there he's not liable in the depths of heaven, because if he was, then you don't have to speed it up. He's good. So Elamai, what do you want to say? Eino chayiv? He's not liable. So that's even harder. Mika midi derachmana patre. Do we have a case that Hashem says you're exempt, and we go up and kill the guy? The ana nekam v'niktale. So how can you tell me he's exempt? He's exempt. Then if he's exempt, then what are we doing killing the guy? So you're stuck. If he is liable, so then why are you doing it? And if he's exempt, so then why are you doing it? So to that he responded. He said, "What do you mean? It's not true. We have cases where the guy's exempt, and we kill him." We had this yesterday, 2 days ago. One who did an aveir and then repeated it. Bezdin puts him to the kippah, the small little area, and then you feed him the food, and then his stomach implodes. So Rachmana Patre, for that aveira doesn't get killed, and we kill him. So yeah, you see, you can have certain cases where he's exempt with heaven, and yet we kill him. So to that he responds, no. There the Gemara told us, Amar Rabbi Yomi, Amar Rabbi Shlakish, b'malkus shel krisus askinan. We're talking about a guy who did someone just chayiv kares. So he is going to be killed by the hands of heaven. So it's not that he's not going to be killed. He is being killed by the hands of heaven. The Gavra Barkatalahu, he's a dead man walking. The Hagone Vesakisa, what about the case where the guy stole the holy vessel? Sounds like the least damaging of all of them. The guy snuck in a special holy gold spoon, walked out, bam. Zela comes, kills him. So you see the severity of how we view things in the base of Mikdash. Don't mess. The Hakone Vesakisa, people nowadays, people have taken little stones from the Western Wall. Okay, it's not the same thing, but I would caution away from that. The Hakone Vesakisa, one who steals the vessel of the base of Mikdash. Ha'amar Rabbi Yehuda. So what do you see there? He's not liable for the death of heaven, and yet you're allowed to go kill him. What do you mean? But Ha'amar Rabbi Yehuda, B'kli Sharis Askina, it's specific vessel that's holy, that's sanctified. And the Gemara there said, there's a hint to the fact that we do kill him. Lo yavo liros kibbalah as a kodesh umesu. So there was a hint that the word kibbalah means a person can go kill the person who's stealing. Kibbalah means to steal. He can go kill the person who goes and steals the holy vessels. Umesu. So fine. So you see, he's also liable for death. That's why we kill him. We don't have a case where you're not liable and then we kill you. What do you mean? Other case in the Mishnah, one who curses God with sorcery. So doesn't say there you're chayiv misa and yet we kill you. No, it does. Hatani Rav Yosef Yaka Kosim es Kosmo, a person who goes and curses God with sorcery, like we saw. That's demechzi kimevarich as Hashem. That looks like somebody who's blaspheming God, and therefore really that is liable for death, and therefore you can go kill him. Oh, what about Habol Aramis? Our case, a guy has relations with a lady, an Aramean lady. So what about that case? Where does it say there that you're chayiv misa? So what do you mean? The other opinion told us Ha'ikri Rav Kahana, that whole story. He didn't know what the halacha was. He told him about a whole dream with a whole bunch of psukim and yecheskel, and then he remembered the dream and he interpreted the dream that referring to someone who was Bo'ol Aramis. And the end of the dream there said that you're chayiv kares. That was the beginning of yesterday. Yeah, that was the top of yesterday's Amud. Goes through the whole dream over there. So, but at the end of that dream, when there was a verse that was referring to someone who has relations with an Aramite woman, and then he gets killed. He gets kares. The Atkei Rav.
Kunkian woman was there.
A daughter of Avodah Zarah. Yeah. I don't know how it applies to a regular non-Jewish lady. I'm not sure. I have to look it up. Yeah. The Atri Rav, the guy, and Rav remembered his teaching and told us, that that person's chayiv kares for that. So every case so far where we take matters into our own hands, either you put the guy into a kippah or you're allowed to be a zealot to kill him. They all really so far are cases where they're going to be killed by heaven. Okay, now along Bryce, and we're going to go through each part of it. So Ace v'hayotzik v'habolel v'haposes. So now all different forms of service in the base of Mikdash. What's important for us to take out of this, without all the details, the important point is that there are a whole bunch of services you do in the temple. However, they're not the last one of the bunch. There are preparatory steps. So there's going to be a difference between the preparatory steps and the last step in your service. So Hayotzek, one who Hayotzek, you pour the shem and the oil onto the korban mincha. The habola, you mix it. The haposes, you breaks into pieces. Thank you. And hamolech, you salt the korban. Hamenif, you wave the korban. Hamenif is you wave it. Hamagish is you bring it. Hamasader shulchan, you set the table. Hametiv zaneros, you set up the candles. The hakomates, you take the flour in your handful, right? Special handful. Hamakabel damim b'chutz, or you accept the blood of the offering. So if you do this all outside your designated area, pater, exempt, ve'ein chayvin aleha, and you're not going to be liable. So if you do b'chutz, you're pater. Now, you're not liable, lo mishum zaras, if a non-Kohen does this, v'lo mishum tuma, and if a Kohen who's tamei does this, lo mishum mechusar begadim, if you do these while not wearing the proper clothing, v'lo mishum richa d'dam raglayim, or if you do it without washing your hands and your feet, which you had to do before you start the service. All of those you're not going to be liable, but hamekater chayiv. But if you go and you actually bring it onto the altar, that you're chayiv. Why? Rashi says it's a verse in Yoma that tells you that you're only liable for when you do an avoda, when there's no avoda afterwards. When you do a service that is not followed by any other service, that you're liable, that you're chayiv, that you're liable for. Yeah. So now, ma'ilav misa, are you not liable for death? So either you do them outside the temple, or you do them inside the temple, but you're not a Kohen, or you're a Kohen who's impure, or you're a Kohen lacking clothing, or you're a Kohen who didn't wash hands and feet. Yeah. By the way, that's one reason why we wash our hands in the morning. There's two reasons. One reason is because we're trying to emulate the Kohanim that wash before they served there. So to us in our daily life, it's also serving God. So, okay, now this is all a question. So what was the question? Are you not chayiv misa? So it sounds like what? It sounds like for what? For
Kohen serves while Hemi is not liable to death. Is it Evan?
one second.
The Rambam.
1 second.
We're talking about the Kohanim or something?
Both. So here the Gemara says, "Ma'ilav misa." Are you not liable for death, and therefore what? And therefore what? If you're liable for death, so why is it? It's a question on what? 1 second. Yeah, if he's Tomei, so 1 second.
Liable.
Let's see here 1 second. What's the copy? 1 second. Rosh Hashanah says that a Kohen who serves Tameh is not liable for the death in heaven, for the death in the hands of heaven. That a Kohen that served Tameh, right? That was our original question. Sorry, that was the original question. Rav Acha asked Rosh Hashanah, is a Kohen who serves Tameh Chai Misa or not? So he wanted to say not. So we brought this whole brisa that says, look, you're chayiv. What are you chayiv for? Are you not chayiv misa? Are you not chayiv misa? Here referring to misa in the hands of heaven? Question on Rav Sheshas. Lo ba'azhara. You're only liable for a negative prohibition. You're not liable for the death of heaven. So says the Gemara, Ella zar nami. Part of that group wasn't just a Kohen that serves Tameh. It was also a non-Kohen serving in the Beis Hamikdash. So if you're telling me that a Kohen who serves when he's Tameh, when he's impure, is only a negative prohibition, and in that same group is a non-Kohen who's serving, so is he also only a negative prohibition and he's not liable for death? V'haksiv, how can you say that? V'hazar hakarav yumas. It says explicitly, a non-Kohen who serves was going to get killed. It says the Gemara, Hakad Isa v'Hakad Isa. You're right. They're in the same group, but they have different laws. Meaning it's a whole group and says chayiv, but it's not the same chayiv for both. For one, you get death in the hands of heaven, and that's the non-Kohen. And for the Kohen that serves in Betuma, you get death. You get only a negative prohibition. Fine. Michlal, the implication is that all those preparatory steps, the yutzak and the pouring and the bowl and the mixing, so they don't, meaning if these you're liable for only a negative prohibition, so the other ones you're not liable at all. In those cases you're exempt, and this is chayiv. What's exempt and chayiv? So if chayiv is only a negative prohibition, if you do it when you're tamei, so a kohen who does the preparatory steps when he's tamei doesn't get anything. He's off the hook. So michal the yutzek ubolo lav nami lo. But how could that be? V'hatanya ashar liyotzek ubolo minayim lomer kedoshi should be holy. Kedosh miyu v'lo yichalalu, and don't profane my base of mikdash. Hashem says the Gemara. No, that's midrabanan. It's rabbinic. Vikra, the pasuk is an asmach ba'alma. It's just a hint to it, but really it's rabbinic in nature. So, two opinions: if a kohen who serves tamei is liable in death of heaven or not. According to Rav Sheshes, he's not, and therefore the other acts that you do are not allowed. They are rabbinically prohibited. It's interesting because a kohen who's tamei can't even really walk into the base of mikdash if you're tamei. So you'd be liable for that anyways. Okay, I don't know. So fine. Meisvei, but look, we have a brisa that says the elu hein shebemisa tamei sheshimesh. That's a KO. The brisa says that one of the people that gets killed in the hands of heaven is a kohen who's impure, who serves in the base of mikdash. So we knock out Rav Sheshes. It's clear here from this brisa that a kohen that serves when he's impure is going to be liable for the death of heaven. So that is a conclusive brisa. Okay, now let's go through the list one by one, all these cases. So the elu shebemisa, the following a person gets killed for ha'ochel es hatevel. So we know before you take off truma, you take off the amount from your produce, it has a status of tevel. Tevel, you're not allowed to eat. And if you do it, a person gets killed also in the hands of heaven. That's one. The kohen timei she'achal truma tahora. A tamei kohen that eats truma tahora, that eats pure tuma, is also liable for death. V'zar she'alachas a truma, a non-kohen that eats truma, is also liable for death. Right? Very important nowadays. Produce is sold in stores. Especially it was posted recently. Products from Israel. Problem is, you can definitely assume that they have not been trumas and maestros have not been taken off from them. So okay, it won't be this strict because it's probably only a suffix and it's in Chutz La'aretz. But either way, got to be careful. So zar shalkas a truma, a non-kohen takes off truma, or zar sheshimesh, or a non-kohen who serves in the base of mikdash, or tamei sheshimesh, or a kohen that serves impurely in the base of mikdash, or a tvul yom. Tvul yom means he did his whole atonement process. He went to the mikvah. He's just waiting for sunset, and then he's fully going to be pure. But tvul yom sheshimesh, if he serves in the base of mikdash, misa, death. Umechusar begadim, lacking clothing, liable for death in the hands of heaven. Mechusar kapara, someone who's just lacking, he's already there, just waiting to bring his korban. He's also, if he serves in the base of mikdash, death. V'shelo rachat tadam reglaim, one who doesn't wash his hands or his feet and then serves, also liable to the misa b'dei shemayim, death in the hands of heaven. Also v'shesui yain or purei rosh, one who drinks wine and then goes in, or purei rosh, or one whose hair is too long. Yeah, you don't get a haircut and you go serve. Also, misa b'dei shemayim. Gotta take your job seriously, you know. So, aval aral v'onein, but someone who's an aral who doesn't have a bris milah, or an onein, or someone who's had a relative that died and it has not been buried yet, status of an onein. V'yoshev, these three, if you're sitting instead of standing in the base of mikdash, einon b'misa. So if you don't have a standing desk, and so it's not misa, ela b'azhara. It's a negative prohibition. Fine, that's a long list of people that are chayiv misa b'dei shemayim. 3 of them are only chayiv for a negative prohibition. And now a bal mum, one who has a certain deficiency, a blemish. I think there are 24 of them. I don't remember correctly. A lot of 24s. 24,000 people, 24 books of Tanakh, 24. There's a lot of 24s. Vessels in the base of Mikdash, I think. Anyways, bal mum, Rebbe Omer b'misa. He says you're liable for death. Chachamim Omer b'azhara. It's only liable for negative prohibition. Hazid b'me'ilah, so you're not allowed to take any benefit from things that are holy. If you do it, it's called me'ilah, which is if you do it inadvertently. And if you do it advertently, it's called hazid b'me'ilah. You do it advertently. So that also, Rabbi Omer b'misa, liable in the death at the hands of heaven. The Chachama Omer b'azhara, only negative prohibition. Okay, let's start the list one by one, and that takes us to the end of the parak. One by one. Ha'ochel es tevel, one who eats tevel, produce that is not yet Truma hasn't been taken off of it. How do you know, Minalan, that you're liable for death? How do you know that you're liable for Misa? Diksiv, it says, V'lo yichalu es kachei b'nei Yisrael, es asher yarimu la Hashem. Do not profane the holy things of the children of Israel, which are going to be lifted up, going to be taken off and given to Hashem. Ba'asidim litra makasim medaber. It's talking about the food that will be taken off Truma. Hasn't yet been taken off. And what does it say there? The word yichalu, profane. The yalif chilul mi Truma. And we're going to learn out chilul from Truma. Ma'alahalan b'misa, by Truma, it's explicit that you're liable for death in the hands of heaven. You have Gzeira Shava chilul afkan b'misa. So to here by this case, you're also going to be liable for the death in the hands of heaven. Eating tevel, you learn out from Truma that you're liable. So Malahalan kares, Afkan kares. Sorry, I skipped. Malahalan b'misa, Afkan b'misa. Just like there's death, here there's death. Says the Gemara, why are you learning from Truma? That same word appears by another prohibition in the Torah called nosar. If you leave a korban overnight, that's called nosar, right? So you can't do that. So learn from nosar. Neil b'chil mi nosar. Malahalan b'kares, Afkan b'kares. Just like there it's kares, so to here it'll be kares. So says the Gemara, no. Mistabra, it's more logical. Mitruma havelei lemelaf. I should learn one who eats tevel from one who eats truma when he's not supposed to. 1 second. Yeah. Yeah, from a Kohen, when we're talking about Truma here, we mean a Kohen who eats Truma when he's impure. So why learn from him? So you have someone, even a Jew, eats Tevel. So why are you learning from a Kohen that eats Truma when he's Tameh? Learn from Nosar. Learn from the Isser Nosar. To eat from that Nosar is to, even to leave it overnight. So why from Nosar? So says the Gemara, because Mistaber Truma Habel the Melaf, Shekain Truma has the following similarities to eating tevel. So Chutz La'aretz. So by Truma, they're not noeg in Chutz La'aretz, at least biblically. Ve'ein noeg in b'Chutz La'aretz. But Nosar, when things are left over, at one point did apply outside of Israel. When they were in the desert, or when they were allowed to build bamos, build the mounds, and serve korbanos there, they're also applied nosar. So that applied even outside of Israel. But truma and tevel biblically only applies in Israel. So that's that. Hutra birabim. So hutra and birabim. Hutra means that tevel and truma are both going to be permitted. They're permitted to something. Tevel will be permitted, and a kohen that's tamei, he can also be permitted to eat it if he goes to the mikvah. So they have a similarity. Nosar is never permitted. You're never permitted to benefit from that which was left over. Rabim is plural, meaning the verse in the Torah is yichalalu is in the plural, chilul is in the singular. So both tevel and truma have the verse in plural, versus nosar, it's going to be in the singular. So and Peiros and Pigul. So what's Peiros and Pigul? So Pigul, at least, I don't know. When it says Peiros, what's it referring to? Rashi doesn't say. So Peiros, Pigul, Venosar. So all these ideas of Peiros, Pigul, Venosar don't apply. So Pigul is when you have the wrong intentions. And nosar is when you leave it over. All those things only apply to tevel and truma, but they only apply to nosar. They do not apply to both tevel and truma. So therefore, they're also similar in that area. So just to finish, it's getting late. Okay, Adarabba minosar. There's two dots coming up. Adar minosar havle lemelaf. Learn from nosar. Why? Shekain, Apostle. Okay, maybe we'll stop here.
The punishment.
7 o'clock. Okay. I wanted to finish a parak today, but that was high hopes. Okay. 2 dots today. All right, we'll see.